So I need your help. I have, for the last couple of weeks, been trying to answer a couple of questions regarding signed comics. Several people have reached out to me and asked me my opinions on valuing signed raw comics. And I've been struggling with how best to answer that question. I've tried some mathematical equations, I've tried some triangulation of prices, and nothing seems to be working. So I'm hoping that you guys can help me out. I know a lot of you out there love signed comics and probably have more experience than I do with signed comics. So I want to talk with you a little bit about my thoughts and then hear what your thoughts are. Stay tuned for the video. Reggie here, your friendly neighborhood bodybuilder and comic book collector, and I want to welcome you to another one of my videos. In this video, I am trying to get help for Fran. Seriously, like 2 friends and myself, just a little. I have been asked a couple of times over the last few weeks about how to value raw signed comics. And I'm honestly struggling. I've reached out to a couple of people and kind of asked them some questions around it. And I haven't quite gotten an answer that I think I can use. And so I wanted to make the appeal to you guys. So in my head, it makes sense. And what I mean by that is when I think about a modern comic signed by a modern artist or writer, I think that the math is relatively simple to figure out the value of that book. And here's what I mean. If I have a modern comic, I know how much that book is worth, right? You can go to comicpriceguide.com to determine the raw price for that book. You can figure out how much that artist or writer charges for a signature. And it might be $5, $10, $15, but you can figure it out. And then you have what I call a convenience factor. And the convenience factor is the fact that you don't have to drive anywhere, you don't have to park or pay for parking, you don't have to pay to get into the con, you don't have to stand in line, right? So there is a convenience factor that gets applied. So let's say the book is $5, the signature is $15, right? That's $20, and then you've got a convenience factor that might be like 10%. So you add that up, that's the value of that book. And in my head, that kind of makes sense. But when you look at what people are trying to charge for these books, it doesn't quite follow that type of logic. And it's simple to me. And I say that because if I can go out today and get that same book, relatively inexpensive, where it's not signed, just an unsigned regular book, I could go to the next con and get a signature from Donnie Cates or Ed McGuinness or, you know, some other modern artist or writer on that very same book. Yes, I have to pay a little bit more for parking and driving and standing in line, but I can still get it. And so when I weigh those two things, to me, the convenience factor is important, but the convenience factor isn't a few $100 difference between those two books. And so that's where my struggle kind of lies. Now, if the writer or artist is someone that has passed away, or it's someone that doesn't go to cons very often, then I think the math gets a little tougher there. But if you're talking about a contemporary book, a contemporary artist or writer, I think the math kind of sort of makes sense. But again, when you look at eBay and when you look at the prices that people are asking, it does not quite add up. So I'm curious, if you buy signed raw comics, how do you determine how much or how little you should actually pay for that book? I'm curious. If you're struggling with this like I am, I'm curious what your thoughts are around like the formula that I kind of rolled out here, but then also like what are your struggles? My hope is that maybe we can get a dialogue going here and maybe we can actually figure out some rhyme or reason for how much you should pay for a raw signed comic. I look forward to reading your responses. And as always, I want to thank you guys for watching this video. Take care.